I don't know if you've ever felt it, that strange feeling that your safe little house might not be as safe as you think. I never did, not really. Not until that night. I work at a small car repair shop on the edge of the city. It's not a bad job, but it leaves me tired. Greasy hands, sore back, late nights. My name's Eric, I'm 28, live alone, and until last winter I thought that was the best thing in the world. Peace and quiet, no drama, just me, my tools, my old couch, and takeout food. My house is nothing special. 2 bedrooms, small yard, peeling paint on the porch railing. I rent it cheap because it's older than me and the landlord doesn't really care as long as I pay on time. My street's calm, only 5 houses and lots of old trees. The branches scrape my windows when the wind blows. Used to make me feel cozy. Used to. I'd always tell myself I liked the quiet. But the truth is, when you're alone too much, quiet can start to feel like someone else is breathing. That Friday in October was colder than usual. The rain came in waves. I left the shop at almost 11 p.m. I remember the new kid James telling me I should grab a drink with the crew. I made up some excuse about laundry. Really, I just wanted to lie on my couch, watch dumb videos, and eat junk food until I fell asleep. I parked under my old oak tree and saw my neighbor's porch light still on across the street. Mrs. Khan. She's old but tough. Sometimes she waves when she sees me. She worries too much. She's the only one who ever checks in on me. She's the only one who even knows I live alone. I got inside, kicked my boots off, tossed my keys in the bowl. The heater rattled awake when I turned it on. The pipes clanked like footsteps in the walls. I told myself it was just old house sounds. I always do. I changed into sweats, grabbed a soda from the fridge, and dropped onto my couch like a dead weight. My favorite blanket, my beat-up old TV. It's my tiny safe world. Around midnight, my stomach growled so loud it made me laugh. I hadn't eaten since lunch. I grabbed my phone, scrolled through my food app, and saw a new burger place I'd never tried. Billy's Big Bites. 5 stars, only 15 minutes away. Perfect. I ordered a double cheeseburger, extra fries, and a chocolate shake. Paid, tipped big. I always tip big so they come quick. The app said, estimated time, 35 minutes. I set my phone on my chest and turned on an old black and white movie. The rain was soft outside, pattering against my window like a lullaby. I pulled my blanket up to my chin. I felt my eyes droop. I hate falling asleep before the food comes, but I couldn't help it. I woke up with my phone buzzing on my chest. Groggy, half blind, I checked the time, 1:17 a.m. I frowned, confused. The movie was over. The app said, preparing your food. Still, I rubbed my eyes. My stomach rumbled again, louder than before. Preparing. An hour later, I checked the restaurant hours. They closed at 1 a.m. A small prickle crawled up my neck. I refreshed the app. Now it said, on the way, but no driver name, no map, no little car icon like usual. I told myself it was a glitch. Maybe they forgot to update it. Maybe the driver was late. I turned the TV back on, tried to laugh at an old cartoon. But I kept glancing at the window. The tree branches scratched the glass in the wind. Something about that sound made me think of fingernails. At 2:04 a.m., my doorbell rang. I jumped like I'd been slapped. It was so quiet in my house, the bell sounded like thunder. Relief came first, finally. Food. I was so hungry my hands shook when I stood up. I padded down the hallway, blanket still draped around my shoulders. I peeked through the small frosted window beside the door. The porch light flickered above a shape tall, broad shoulders, hood up, dark rain jacket, no car in sight, just the misty street. I unlocked the deadbolt and opened the door halfway. The smell hit me first, cold rain, wet leaves, and underneath something sharp. Like old metal, like engine oil. The man in the black rain jacket didn't look like any delivery driver I'd seen. No uniform, no bag, no burger, just his hands deep in his pockets. "Hey," I said, voice cracking. You got my food?" He looked up. His eyes were pale, almost gray in the porch light. His skin was damp. He sniffed once, slow. "Your food," he said. His voice was low and calm. "Sorry it's late." He didn't move, didn't show me a bag. I tried to joke. "Guess you ate my fries, huh?" He didn't smile. He tilted his head a bit like he was trying to hear past me into my living room. "Your food's outside," he said. I blinked. "Isn't this outside?" He licked his lips slow, then smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile, it was small and tight. "It's in the back. Had to park there." My gut twisted. Who parks in the back on my street? There's no driveway, just a narrow alley that leads to my dark backyard. He nodded his head behind him. The rain made a soft shh on his hood. "Come help me carry it." My heartbeat was so loud I wondered if he could hear it. I glanced at his pockets deep enough to hide something. His hands stayed buried. I forced a laugh. "Nah, man, I'm in slippers. Just bring it here." The man's smile twitched. He sniffed again. His eyes didn't blink. "You got a dog?" he asked suddenly. The question was so sharp it cut through my fake grin. Yeah." He tilted his head again. His smile spread wider. "No, you don't." I tried to close the door. He pushed it back with one hand so fast I almost stumbled. His other hand never left his pocket. "Wait," he said softly. "Don't be rude, it's cold out here." I pressed my foot against the door and shoved. He leaned his weight in, not a lot, just enough to let me feel that he could push harder if he wanted. His breath smelled stale and sweet. His hood dripped rain onto my welcome mat. "I don't want any trouble," I said. My voice cracked. "Take whatever you want, I got cash." He laughed, but it didn't sound real. "You think I want your cash?" He leaned closer. I felt his breath on my cheek. "I want to come in." I slammed my shoulder into the door. He stumbled half a step back, just enough. I threw all my weight forward and slammed it shut. The lock clicked. I slapped the deadbolt down with shaking hands. Silence. Then a soft tap. 1, 2, 3. I stumbled backward down the hallway. I grabbed my phone from the couch. My hand was shaking so bad I nearly dropped it. The doorbell rang again. Longer this time. Then 3 soft knocks, like he was playing a game. I ran to the kitchen, grabbed the biggest knife I owned. I don't even know why. I wasn't about to open the door. My phone buzzed in my sweaty palm. It was a text, unknown number. "Open up." I nearly dropped it. Another text. "Just want to come in, it's cold." I called 911. My voice was a mess. I could barely get the address out. The dispatcher told me to stay on the line. I crawled under my kitchen table. I felt like a scared little kid. Then a scratching sound at the back window. Slow, deliberate. I imagined a nail or a knife dragging across the glass. The dispatcher asked me what I heard. I couldn't answer. I stared at the dark window above my sink. then silence again. It felt like forever, but it was maybe 10 minutes before I saw the red and blue lights through the front window. I heard the porch steps creak, then voices. The dispatcher told me it was safe. I stumbled out to the living room and opened the door for 2 cops. They found no one. They searched the yard, the alley, even the neighbors' sheds. Nothing, just muddy boot prints near my back gate. One of the officers found something else, though. A delivery bag, old, greasy, with a different Burger Place's logo tossed behind my garbage cans. Inside was a stained rain jacket, the same kind the man wore. It wasn't mine. I don't know where he got it, or how long he'd been waiting. I stayed with Mrs. Khan for 2 nights after that. She made tea and told me stories about her kids and grandkids. Every creak of her old house made my skin crawl. The police never found him. They think he's been pretending to be delivery drivers all over the area, knocking on doors late at night, waiting for someone too sleepy or drunk to think twice. No one knows what he really wanted. Maybe he was just trying doors, seeing who would open up. Maybe he liked the chase. Or maybe he wanted something worse. I don't order food late at night anymore. I don't sleep on my couch with the porch light off. I double-check my windows. I keep the biggest knife under my pillow. Maybe that's silly, but when you've heard that knock once, you never want to hear it again. So if you ever hear a soft knock at 2 a.m., ask yourself who's really there. And if your phone says your food is on the way, look through the peephole. And lock the door twice. My name is Lena. I was 24 when this happened. I moved to a new city alone because I got a job offer I couldn't turn down. Not good money, but good enough for me to escape my small town and my parents' tiny house. I didn't know anyone in this city, not one person. My new job was at a print shop, long hours, old machines, and an owner who paid me just enough to live on instant noodles and bus tickets. I told myself it would get better soon. I found the cheapest apartment I could. The ad said, quiet studio, 2nd floor, good for students or singles. I didn't care that the building was old, or that the stair railings were rusty, or that the hall lights flickered at night. It was my own place, tiny, yes, only 1 room, a bathroom and a small kitchen, but I called it home. The building only had 6 units, 3 upstairs, 3 downstairs. The landlord told me only 2 others were occupied when I moved in. A woman with her kid downstairs and an old man in 2A next to mine. I never saw the woman or the kid, but sometimes I heard soft footsteps in the hall late at night, which I guessed were hers. The old man in 2A, though, I never saw him at all. The landlord, Mr. Gregor, gave me a big smile when I signed the lease. His smile showed yellow teeth and made my skin crawl for some reason. He said, "Don't worry if you don't see the others much, it's a quiet building." About 3 weeks after I moved in, work started getting worse. My boss yelled a lot. My pay was late. I skipped dinner some nights to afford bus fare. One Wednesday I came home at 9 p.m. The hallway was cold and smelled like old wet carpet. My neighbor's door 2A was cracked open. That was the first time I'd seen it open at all. I slowed down. Inside it was dark. I thought maybe the old man was sick or hurt. I was too shy to knock though, so I just slipped my key into my lock. Turned it slowly so it wouldn't echo in the hall. When I looked back, the door was closed again. I hadn't heard it shut. That night I made soup and sat on my floor to eat. I didn't have a table yet. I was watching a show on my old laptop when I heard 3 soft knocks at my door. I jumped. I never got visitors. My heart thumped in my chest. I tiptoed to the door and looked through the peephole. The hallway light flickered. No one there. I held my breath, thinking maybe it was just old pipes or a neighbor kid messing around. Then came 3 more knocks, softer, like fingernails tapping. I whispered, "Who is it?" Silence. I pressed my eye closer to the peephole. Nothing. After a long minute, I heard shuffling footsteps moving down the hall, then a door creaked shut. I peeked out my door just a little. The hall was empty. I told myself I was overthinking it. I went back to my soup, but I couldn't finish it. The next morning, I left for work extra early. The hallway felt colder than usual. When I passed 2A, I felt someone watching me. I glanced over. The old man was standing there in his doorway, barely inside. He was tall, thin, with messy white hair and eyes that looked too wide for his face. He smiled at me. His lips were pale and cracked. "Morning," I said softly, trying to be polite. He didn't answer, just kept staring. His eyes flicked to my door, then back to my face. "Do you need anything?" I asked awkwardly. He opened his mouth a little, no sound came out. Then he stepped back inside and closed the door, slow and quiet. At work that day, I couldn't focus. My boss yelled at me twice for messing up print orders. I spilled ink on my shirt and got the last bus home. When I got back, my door was closed like normal, but the air felt wrong, like someone had just been standing there waiting for me. That night, I took a hot shower to calm down. When I stepped out of the bathroom, I smelled something strange, sweet and sour at the same time, like rotting fruit. I checked my tiny fridge. Nothing spoiled. I sniffed my trash. Empty. The smell seemed stronger by the door. I put my ear to it, feeling stupid but doing it anyway. Silence. Then a soft scratch like a fingernail dragging across wood. I backed away, locked the chain, pushed my suitcase in front of the door. My heart wouldn't slow down. I didn't sleep much that night. 2 nights later, I came home late again. The old man was waiting outside my door. He was barefoot, wearing a stained undershirt and loose pants. His toenails were yellow and cracked. "Hello, dear," he rasped, voice dry as dust. I didn't want to be rude. I forced a smile. "Hi, I'm your neighbor," he said. His lips stretched into that pale grin again. "You know my name?" I didn't. "It's Walter," he said. He stepped closer. His breath smelled like old milk. "I have a favor." My back pressed into my door. "What is it?" "Could you help me in my kitchen?" His voice shook. "I have something heavy. You're young, strong." I swallowed. Everything in me said no. But my parents raised me to be polite. I thought, what's the harm? "I guess, sure," I said. He opened his door. The smell hit me first: rotten meat, sour mold, dust. His hallway light was broken. His kitchen glowed with a weak yellow bulb. Inside, his apartment looked abandoned. Wallpaper peeled off in strips. The floor was sticky under my shoes. The sink was full of dirty dishes. There were boxes piled in corners. Walter shuffled ahead of me. He pointed at a big metal pot on the counter. "Can you lift that? Bring it here." I stepped closer. The pot was covered. Flies buzzed around the rim. "What's in it?" I asked. He just smiled. "Dinner." My stomach turned. I stepped back. "I'm sorry, I have to go." Walter's smile dropped. His eyes darkened. He took a step forward. "Stay," he whispered. I ran. Out his door, across the hall, slammed mine shut, locked it 3 times. He didn't knock, didn't follow, but I heard him on the other side, breathing. I packed a small bag, my wallet, my old phone charger, a sweater. I thought maybe I'd sleep at a friend's place, except I didn't have friends here, not really. I sat on my bed all night, lights on. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his cracked lips, that smile. At 3 a.m., I heard scratching at my door again. Slow, careful, a soft thud like a shoulder leaning against it. I texted my landlord, "Walter is scaring me. Can you check on him?" No answer. The next morning I decided I couldn't stay. I called in sick to work, packed everything I owned, not much, into 2 suitcases. I planned to call a taxi and crash at a cheap motel until I figured something else out. I opened my door carefully. The hallway was empty. Walter's door, 2A, was wide open. Inside, the smell was stronger. I could see the pot on the counter. The light swung back and forth above it. I heard a voice from deeper in the unit, soft, wet coughs. I turned to run, but something caught my eye on the floor near the doorway. A box. Inside it, mail mine. Letters I hadn't gotten. Packages ripped open. He'd been stealing them, watching. Then I saw it next to the box, taped to the wall in messy rows, photos of me, walking down the hall, sleeping on my bed through my cracked blinds. One picture was me brushing my teeth. Another was me at the bus stop. I dropped my suitcase and ran. I didn't wait for the landlord. I didn't wait for an explanation. I ran down the stairs and out into the cold morning air. I called the police from the bus stop. I didn't care how cold I was, standing there in my slippers, hugging my bag. I felt the sun on my face, but inside I felt cold forever. Walter was gone by the time the police arrived. His apartment was full of old junk, stolen mail, old food, photos. No sign of him. They said he'd probably been living there without a lease for months, maybe longer. Mr. Gregor, the landlord, swore he didn't know. He said he thought Walter moved out years ago. No one knows where he went. I found a tiny room with a lock on the door in a building with cameras in the halls. I still jump at knocks. I tape black paper over my windows at night. Sometimes when the wind howls down empty streets, I imagine Walter's cracked smile waiting for me around a corner. Sometimes when I check my mail, I see shadows behind the hallway lights. I'm still alone, but I keep a baseball bat next to my door now, just in case Walter ever wants to say hello again. When I was 17, I still lived with my uncle and aunt. My parents had moved overseas for work, but they wanted me to finish high school in the town I'd always known. My uncle had just bought this big old farmhouse about 15 minutes outside town, a white, creaky place surrounded by woods and empty fields. It felt too big for 3 people, my uncle, my aunt, and me, but they liked having spare rooms for family who never really visited. My uncle worked from home, so he liked his quiet corners. During the day, the house was fine. Sunlight filled the big windows, the fields looked pretty in the breeze. But at night, the house groaned and creaked like an old ship. Pipes rattled, the wind whistled through the walls. You never really got silence, just different noises. About 6 months after I moved in, my uncle and aunt decided to visit my cousins in another state for 4 days. They asked if I wanted to come, but I had a big history project due on Monday. I told them I'd be fine. I wasn't a kid anymore. They left on a Thursday morning. The first day alone was nice, honestly. I blasted the TV, made popcorn, stayed up late watching movies with all the lights on. I didn't even notice how big and empty the place felt when I was busy. On Friday, I went to school, then hung out at the diner with my best friend Taylor. We talked about college applications and how weird it'd be to leave town. It was already dark when I got home. I sat in the car for a second, looking at the house sitting there alone at the end of the long driveway. It looked bigger than usual. Inside, I tossed my bag on the couch and turned on more lights. I hated the shadows pooling in the corners. I went upstairs to grab my charger from my room. The upstairs hallway always made me nervous. It was long and narrow, with all the guest room doors lined up tight. My aunt kept them shut to keep out dust. Halfway down the hall, I stopped. One of the guest room doors, the second one on the right, was open. Just a crack, but enough to see pitch darkness inside. I told myself maybe I'd gone in there to put away fresh sheets for my aunt. Or maybe my uncle had checked something with the radiator. Old houses have a million problems. I pushed it open and flipped on the light. The guest room was as boring as always. Faded quilt on the bed, old wooden dresser that smelled like mothballs, a window facing the side yard. Nothing moved. I shut the door firmly and heard the latch catch. Then I went to my room and plugged in my charger. I turned on some show I'd seen 100 times to drown out the creaks. That night I made noodles downstairs and scrolled through my phone at the counter. Now and then I thought I heard a soft thump overhead, but the house always did that. I laughed it off, rinsed my bowl, and went to bed early. Saturday morning was normal. I did homework at the kitchen table, called my parents to tell them everything was fine. I didn't mention the door. Why worry them? Taylor came over that afternoon. We watched a horror movie, ironically. She teased me about staying alone in that creepy barn. I laughed, but I didn't really think it was funny. After she left at sunset, I turned on every light downstairs. I sat on the couch with chips and a blanket and tried to focus on dumb videos. But my ears kept pricking at every sound: the refrigerator humming, the pipes shifting. Around 10, I got up to check the doors and windows, just to feel better. When I got to the top of the stairs, my chest tightened. The same guest room door was open again, but this time wide open. Not a crack. I could see the edge of the bed inside. I stood frozen for a long second. I told myself maybe the latch was loose, old door frame shift. I forced myself to walk down the hall, feet heavy like stones. I pushed the door all the way open and hit the switch. The room looked the same, except I froze. The quilt on the bed was rumpled like someone had been sitting on it. That made no sense. I hadn't touched it. I stepped closer. On the nightstand was an old picture frame that usually held a photo of my uncle's parents. But the picture inside was gone. The frame lay face down. My mouth felt dry. I flipped the quilt back in place, shut the door, and locked the old knob. It didn't really lock well. You could pop it with a push, but I did it anyway. Then I shut myself in my room and locked that door too. I texted Taylor, "Pretty sure this place is haunted, LOL." She sent back, "Shut up, I'd be so gone." I left a playlist playing on my laptop so I wouldn't hear every squeak. But sometime around 3 a.m., I woke up to a soft sound. Something brushing the hallway floor. I lay still, staring at my ceiling. There it was again, a scuffling sound like feet dragging. Then a tiny click. I knew that sound. It was the old guest room door again. My stomach turned to ice. I grabbed my phone and muted my laptop. The hall outside my door was silent until it wasn't. Slow, careful footsteps moved closer. Then they stopped right outside my room. 3 soft knocks, barely there, like tapping with a fingernail. I couldn't move. I whispered, "Who's there?" Nothing. Another 3 knocks, just a little louder. I texted Taylor, "Someone's knocking on my door." She texted back immediately, "Call the cops right now." I dialed 911 with shaking hands. I whispered my address to the operator. She told me to stay on the line and asked if I knew who it was. I said no. Then the doorknob twisted. It rattled once, twice. It didn't open, thank God for the lock. I backed away until my legs hit the bed. The knob stopped. Silence. Then came a sound worse than the knocking. A slow, scraping drag of something metal against the wood of my door. Up, down, like someone tracing lines, deciding where to cut. I whispered to the operator that someone was trying to get in. She said officers were almost there. The scraping stopped. For a moment I thought I heard breathing, but maybe that was just mine. I didn't move until I saw the flash of blue and red through my window. I heard the police call my name from downstairs. I opened my door slowly. The hallway was empty, but the guest room door was wide open again. Downstairs, the police searched every room, the attic, the basement. They found the small laundry room window popped open, its old latch broken clean off. Outside, muddy footprints in the grass circled the house back and forth. The trail disappeared into the woods behind the property. They told me it was probably someone passing through. Maybe they'd seen me alone. Maybe they'd been watching for days. Nothing was stolen, nothing was broken except the window. When my uncle and aunt came home the next day, they found the missing picture tucked under the guest room bed, but the photo inside wasn't the one that had been there. It was an old Polaroid of a teenage boy sitting on that same guest bed, grinning at the camera. Nobody in my family knew him. A year later, my uncle sold the farmhouse. He said it was too much work to keep up. I didn't argue. Now, even in my tiny apartment miles away, I check every door twice. Sometimes late at night I wake up to silence and wait, straining my ears for the sound of a soft knock. Sometimes I swear I hear it, 3 gentle taps in the dark. I don't answer, I just lock the door. And I hope it's enough.